Hi students, welcome to this online class. Today we are going to see about class 7 science chapter 8. The name of the lesson is winds, storms and cyclones. We are all familiar with the word winds. What does it mean? When the air moves in a flow in a particular direction, it is called wind. Simply, moving air is called wind. In this lesson, we are going to see about the three properties of air and some natural disasters that occurred by the properties of air like thunderstorms, cyclones and flood, and moreover, while seeing about these disasters, we are also going to see about how to protect ourselves from the disasters and what are all the precautionary steps to be taken while the disaster occurs. Let's start our lesson. First, we are going to see about the properties of air. The first property, that is, air exerts pressure. Air has a pressure. To prove that, you just take a paper and just show it outside of the window. What you can see? When the wind blows, the paper make a severe movement. Why does it move? Because when the wind blows, the air has a pressure, so it pushes the paper. And what could happen if you leave the paper? It just moves for a distance. It's just an example of air exerts pressure. Not only paper, even the leaves of the trees, it also make a small movement when the wind blows. The leaves move because the air has a pressure. Here we have an experiment to prove that air exerts pressure. To do this experiment, we need a tin can. You just add some water in the tin can and just heat it. After heating for some time, you just pour some cold water on the hot tin can, and suddenly the hot tin can being deformed. Why does it happen? Let's see now. As fresh water is poured over the hot can, the steam in the can condenses and converts into water. This results in reducing the amount of air that is present in water. The pressure of the air outside the can becomes more than the pressure of the air inside the can. This results in compressing of the can. Therefore, it is proved that air exerts pressure. Okay sir, let it be there. Air have pressure. What is the use of it? Why do we have to know about it? That's what we are going to see about the next one. Flow of air. We may have some questions. How do the air move from one place to another place? And why does it move? It all because of this property. As we see in the previous property, that air exerts pressure, and the pressure difference between the two places causes the flow of air. When the speed of wind increases, it lowers down the air pressure. Therefore, we can say that air flows from a region of high pressure to low pressure. So, as I said earlier, the pressure difference between the places decides the or causes the flow of air. Just think, you are living in one region and I am living in another region. If the pressure difference, if I am living in a high pressure region and you are living in low pressure region, means to balance the pressure difference, wind from my area to move towards your area, just to balance the air pressure. And this movement is caused by the pressure difference. Just think, if the difference is quite low, for an example, the air pressure in my area is 75 and air pressure in your area is 65, means there is a difference, but the difference is quite low. So, the air moves in slow manner. Suppose the air pressure in my area is 75 and the air pressure in your area is 35, means the difference is high. So, the wind moves at very fast. This is our second property, that is high speed wind is accompanied by low pressure, which means if a place has a low pressure and the place wind blows in high speed, or else you can say in another way, when the wind blows in high speed, that place have a low pressure. The speed of air or wind depends upon the difference between the pressures of the two regions. If the difference between the pressure increases, the speed of air also increase. If the difference between the two regions decreases, the speed of wind also been decreased. Next, our third property, that is air expands on heating. When the air heated, it becomes expand. When the air is heated, it expands. As a result, it occupies more space and becomes lighter in weight. Therefore, we can say that warm air is light in weight and cold air is heavy. This is our third property, that is air expands on heating. When we heat the air, it expands. When it expands, its weight becomes reduced. So, when we heat the air, it becomes light in weight and cold air be quite heavy. That is why when we burn something, either the dust or paper, anything we burn, it causes the smoke. And have ever noticed that most of the smoke will move at the upward direction? Why? Smoke is a hot air. Hot air is lighter, hence it moves in an upward direction. So, now we have seen the three properties of air. And how convection in air occurs. When the hot air in a region rises up, the pressure becomes low in that region. As a result, the colder air fills its place. This is how convection in air occurs. This is how the temperature difference being balanced. When the temperature has been increased, some air become expand and the place, it causes low pressure. To balance it, from the atmosphere upper altitude to some air move towards downwards. This is called convection. Here is the pictorial explanation about the convection. You can take a screenshot of this one. Next, we are going to see about generation of wind currents due to uneven heating of earth. Now, we are going to see how do the wind being formed and how does it move from all over the world. There are two situations where winds on earth generate. First one, uneven heating between the equator and poles causes the north and south winds. We know that the earth is divided into circular lines called latitudes that specify the north-south position of a place on the globe. Also, the equator is a latitude that is perpendicular to the axis of the earth's rotation. The regions that are closer to the equator receive maximum sunlight on earth. Hence, the air in these regions is generally warm. The warm air therefore rises above and the cold air from the latitude around the equator moves in that place. Similarly, cold winds from north and south pole move towards the equator and the neighboring latitude, and the circulation of wind takes place on earth. This is the first situation. On the equator, it receives more sunlight, so the air become more warm and the pressure will be get reduced. To balance that, around the places of equator, the wind move from around the place of equator to the center part. See, the arrow mark has been mentioned to the movement of air. Next situation, uneven heating of land and water causes monsoon winds on earth which bring rainfall. In the summer season, the land near the equator gets warmer and its temperature generally remains higher than the ocean. This one we have already learned in chapter 4 about the sea breeze and land breeze. and the sea breeze and land breeze occur in a day, and here we are speaking about the season. On the whole season, the temperature been quite increasing day by day, that causes the monsoon. As a result, water above the land rises and the cold air from the ocean move towards the land. These winds are called monsoon winds, which means when the land becomes so hot, to balance that, the cold air from the ocean move towards the land, and this is called monsoon winds. Since these winds come from the ocean, they carry water with them. In a similar way, the winds in the winter season move from the land towards the ocean, and this causes to monsoon and causes to rain also. We receive two monsoon. In our India, we have majorly two monsoon, that is southwest monsoon and northeast monsoon. Based on the we receive more rainfall during this monsoon seasons, and Tamil Nadu is more likely to get more rain during the southwest monsoon. Yes, can you see here, the arrow mark shows that the flow of air, and this picture is a northeast monsoon. Next we are going to see about the disasters that caused by the properties of air. An event in the environment in which strong winds blow accompanied by heavy rainfall, thunder and lightning are called thunderstorm. Thunderstorms occur in hot and humid tropical regions mainly. These regions generally have a higher temperature, which causes reduced wind pressure. These hot winds, when move upwards, also have water vapor within them, which freezes and falls on the earth as a rain. The rainfall and rising air create lightning in the air accompanied by sound. As a result, thunderstorm occurs. Simply, when the rain falls, it releases some heat, it warms the air. So, the warm air move upwards and the cold rain move downwards. When the warm air and the cold rain meets together, it causes lightning and thunderstorm. Yes, we have mentioned in the pictorial view. See, the warm air mentioned in the red arrow marks and the cold air mentioned in the blue arrow marks. When these two hit together, it causes the lightning and thunder. We mentioned as a thunderstorm. What are the precautions that we need to take? One should not take shelter under an isolated tree during storm and lightning. Instead, one can take shelter under a small tree if near a forest area. One should not lie on the ground. One should not use or carry an umbrella which has a metallic end rod. One should stay away from windows and doors at that time. One should not take shelter in an open garage, metal shed or storage shed. It is advisable to take shelter in a car or a bus. They mentioned as far, actually it comes as or a bus. One should not stay in the water. People should try to move inside a building as soon as possible. And it is a main important thing that we should not touch the electrical appliances during the thunderstorm. Next, cyclones. Clouds are formed due to water vapor in the air. As the water turns into vapor, it takes up the heat from the atmosphere. When the water vapor turns into clouds and fall back as raindrops, the same heat is released back in the atmosphere. You can simply say by an example. Just think, if you have a glass of water and you want to convert into ice cubes, what we will do? We just keep it in a freezer. What does the freezer do? It just take the heat from the water. When we remove the heat from the water, it turns into ice cube. By the same way, when we add some heat to the ice cube, it turns into water. The same thing happens here. When the water is converted into water vapor, it absorbs some heat. By the same way, when the water vapor turns into water, it releases the heat. This causes the same thing happens during the cyclones. This heat warms up the air around the raindrops, and the warm air starts rising. This leads to decreasing their pressure in the region. So the air from the surrounding takes the place of the warm air. The cycle continues until the rain falls. As a result, a very low pressure region is created and strong winds start revolving in that low pressure region. This is the condition of a cyclone. So the formation of cyclone that depends upon four factors. First, the temperature of the place, the wind speed, the direction of the wind, and the humidity of the place. Structure of a cyclone generally, how does it forms? Now we have seen, and let's see about the structure. Cyclone is a rotation of air in the atmosphere at a height of around 10 to 15 km. The center of the cyclone is also called as eye of the storm. It is a clean area where there are no clouds but only light winds. This area, the center part, the eye of the cyclone, it ranges from 10 to 30 kilometers in diameter. The cloud region lies around this eye and has a diameter of around 150 kilometers. The cloud region has a high speed winds blowing at 150 to 250 km per hour, accompanied by heavy rainfall. The first indication of a cyclone can be observed when strong winds start flowing and pushing away the water from the shores. And what could happen if a cyclone been crossed in our area? What are the destruction may be caused? Cyclone can result in extremely high waves in the sea or ocean because of the low pressure. These waves can be 3 to 12 meters high. The soil of the area also loses its fertility after a cyclone. Floods can appear if rainfall continues for a long duration. High speed winds in the cyclone affect the telephonic communication lines, uproot trees, damage houses, and causes loss of life. Next, tornado. A tornado is, but before seeing the tornado, we have to know some of the names of cyclone. In our region, we mention it as a cyclone, but in America, they don't say it as cyclone, they mention it as a hurricane. I spell it Hurricane, hurricane. And as well as in the Japan and Philippines, in those regions, they mention a cyclone as a typhoon, Typhoon, typhoon. These are the some other names of cyclones. Next, we are going to see about the tornado. A tornado is a weather condition when a cloud having a dark funnel shape reaches the ground. The diameter of tornado can range from 1 meter to several kilometers. See, it's quite dangerous than a cyclone, because the cyclone have a range of around 150 kilometers, but see here it has several kilometers. We can't even measure it. The tornadoes can be formed within cyclones as well. In a tornado, wind blow at high speed of 300 km per hour. See, in a cyclone, the wind blows from maximum of 200 km, but a tornado can move as soon as a speed of 300 km per hour. The funnel-like shape of a tornado sucks everything that comes near it at the base because of the low pressure exerted by the winds. It then throws the thing upwards. Hence, tornadoes can be devastating. Yes, here is the picture of tornado. Next, protecting ourselves from a tornado. To protect oneself in a tornado, one should take shelter in an underground room with no windows. If in a room with windows, one should close them and hide under a table or a workbench. One should bow down on the knees, protecting their neck and head using their arms. What are the safety measures for cyclones and as well as the tornadoes? There should be a cyclone forecasting service that can warn the people of a particular area that can be hit by cyclone. The speed of wind plays a major role in predicting any calamity like cyclones. Hence, the speed of wind in coastal areas should be measured regularly. Anemometer is a device that can measure the wind speed. It's a device. See, remember the device name. Anemometer is a device that can measure the speed of wind. The warning should be communicated rapidly to the citizens, ships that are sailing in the sea, government agencies and fishermen as well. Along with this, cyclone shelter should be built in coastal areas and agencies should be appointed who can help the people at the time of calamity. These are the things done by the government, and what we have to do. One should not ignore the warnings given by the weather forecasting team. If you can, you must move to safe places and you carry all your important belongings with you. One should not drive on roads that have standing water as they might be damaged. One should keep all the emergency numbers with themselves so that they can seek help when required. And what are the precautions that we have to take? The water in such region can be contaminated. Hence, one should make sure if the water is safe and only then drink it. One should stay away from power lines for electrical switches of any kind. One should stay at home or at the shelters and should not move out unnecessarily. One should not put unnecessary demands to the rescue team and should cooperate with them. One should help each other in such a situation. And this is an important thing that we have to know about it, because nowadays we are getting some forecasting on predicting the weather. How is it possible? How we are saying that within a 2 days, also next one day we will be receiving a rainfall, we have a cyclone. How we are finding it? The satellites and the radars have made it possible to predict cyclones ahead of time so that appropriate precautionary measures can be taken accordingly. Do you know which satellite is used for it? Our India has launched many satellites for various purpose, but to predicting the weather change, we have launched the INSAT, INSAT, INSAT. That is the satellite we are using to predicting the weather change. There are now several national and international organizations that monitor cyclone related issues. Generally, a cyclone watch or a cyclone alert is issued every 48 hours in advance if a storm is expected in an area. Then a cyclone warning is issued before 24 hours. This warning is then broadcasted in the area after intervals of half an hour or 1 hour. What you have learned in this lesson? We have started with the properties of air. The three properties: air exerts pressure, high speed wind accompanied by reduced air pressure, and air expands on heating. These are the three properties we have learned. And the generation of wind currents: uneven heating between poles and equator, and the uneven heating between land and ocean. These are the two situations that causes the generation of wind current. And next, the natural calamities like thunderstorm, cyclone, tornadoes, and as well as we have seen what are the precautionary steps to be taken by the citizens and as well as the government. At last, we have seen about the role of technology. Thank you all. We will meet you all in the next class.